And then we elongated it again to Lou Gehrig?
You're running upstairs? Yeah.
Hi, I'm so here. We're figuring out these pillars. Here's what I'm hoping first is that we have a great fucking night and we have a lot of fun because I'm so psyched to be here. And thank you for letting me be a part of your scene here. It means the world. And I just want to say a few things before we start. My philosophy as I've grown in my career as an artist is that sometimes as you grow as an artist, you know, I've had some big years, I've had some down years. I'm kind of in the middle stuff right now. But the thing is that you have to make some compromises along the way. And sometimes as a touring artist, you gotta...
Come to the stage now. I mean, you know him from Beautiful Anonymous. You've seen him on everything. You bought tickets with his name on them. You know why you're here. Please give it up for the very funny Chris Gethard, everybody.
Hello again, St. Louis. One more time for the very funny Nick Fierro. It feels great to be here. Basically, what's happening right now is I'm a father now. I'm a father. Since the last time I was in St. Louis, I've had a child. That's what's going on right now. Are there any other parents here tonight? Clap if there's other parents here. Thanks for coming out. That's awesome. I'm glad you guys are here, especially if you got a sitter. I know it's a commitment. I'll try to make sure that it's worth your while. Basically, my son is about to turn 4, and I think the other parents in the room might agree with me. 4 is officially old enough that he can mess with my head. And that is why I'm in a very weird headspace right now. Like, a good example is he recently watched The Lion King for the first time, and he did not cry when the dad died. And as you can imagine, it's really been living deeply in my head ever since. I thought we were gonna have to have a conversation about mortality, you know, like specifically my mortality. And then he just decided to throw me for a real curveball and he just decided to not give a shit at all. That's what he decided to do. It just didn't move the needle and it messed me up. He got me even worse than that about a month ago. I woke up in the middle of the night and I hear him going, "Daddy, Daddy." And this happens sometimes. It means that he has to pee usually, or maybe he's having a nightmare, and I'm always happy to try to step up and help. But this night, I got up, got out of bed, I go across the hall to his room, and it's neither of those things. I open the door, and he's sitting up in the bed, and he's waiting for me. He's watching the door. And when I come through, he goes, "Daddy." And I go, "Yeah, what's up, man?" And he goes, "Don't go into the forest." And I was like, "What?" And he looks right at me. He goes, "Don't go into the dark forest." And then he laid down and he went right back to sleep. And I went back to my room and I did not go right back to sleep. I couldn't. I was so terrified. I've never been that scared in my entire life. I was tossing and turning. And eventually my wife woke up and she was like, "Hey, is everything okay?" And I was like, "No, nothing's okay." She's like, "Why? What happened?" I go, "Well, here's what happened is I was raised Catholic. And at a certain point, I decided that it wasn't real, that it was fables, that those stories have morals in them and the morals teach people, and that's a good thing for a lot of people, but I don't personally believe it's fact. I think it's fiction, and it turns out that I was wrong. It turns out that Satan is very real. Demonic possession is real. It's happening right now across the hall inside our beautiful son." And she's like, "Whoa, slow down. What are you talking about?" And I told her the whole story that I told you. I said, I got up and he was waiting for me and then he was looking at me and then he said, "Don't go into the dark forest." And she said, "Oh, that's a reference to a show called Dino Trucks." And I said, "Excuse me?" And she said, "Yeah, he just started watching this new cartoon just a couple days ago. You haven't seen it yet. In St. Louis, you won't be surprised to hear it's about these creatures who are half dino, half truck. And they have these bad guys who are known as the Scrapadactyls. And the Scrapadactyls live in an area called the Dark Forest. So every time the dino trucks go into the Dark Forest, trouble ensues." So really, ultimately, what was happening here was like your son woke up in the middle of the night and he was probably thinking to himself like, "Wow, Daddy hasn't watched that show. Daddy hasn't gotten the memo. Daddy!" Like, ultimately, what's happening is your son, he was just trying to look out for you, you know? And I went, "Oh, thank the God I can go back to not believing in. That is great news. Very glad you told me that." I mentioned he has nightmares. It's been happening a lot lately because he's a really creative kid, and it's the best. He's so creative, and I love it so much. It's so fun. But the downside of it is that sometimes his imagination doesn't turn off at night, and he gets to bed, and the nightmares start. And I handle it the same way every time. We have this little tradition that we do where I'll go into his room, and I'll rub his back, and I'll say, buddy, it's okay. You just take a deep breath, start trying to fall back asleep, and while you do, we'll think of 3 things that you love. And if you think about 3 things that you love while you're falling asleep, then you'll have a dream about those things. You won't have a nightmare anymore. And he really likes it. It works for him. So I'll rub his little back, and I'll say, what's the first thing that you love? And the answer to that one is the same every single time. It's mommy. That's right. You're on. And I get it. I'm not mad about it. She's great. I love her too. Like, it's awesome. And they're really close. They're really close, those two. So I get it. It's fine. You guys were able to guess number 1, so I'm sure you can guess number 2. Say it with me. It's Killian. It's Killian. Killian's the kid who lives 3 houses down from us. He's 4 or 5 months older than my son. My son thinks he's the coolest kid in the entire world. He might be right. This kid is so rad. He once climbed up on the roof of his house, then taunted his parents as they tried to get him down. Like, he's so badass and cool. I get why my son loves him. It makes a lot of sense. Number 3 is always something completely random, and it's never daddy. Not one time. Not one time. Right now, the current thing that comes up most often is Mommy, Killian, and Captain America. We get that one a lot. Sometimes it's Mommy, Killian, and Iron Man. One that actually hurt my feelings was Mommy, Killian, and Rhino, because Rhino is a low-level Spider-Man bad guy. He's not even a good guy. And they're not all Marvel properties, by the way. Sometimes it's Marvel, it's Mommy, Killian, and Sparkles. It's Mommy, Killian, and Monster Trucks. Maybe the one that got me most heartbroken was Mommy, Killian, and Octopuses, because to my knowledge, my son has never even seen a photograph of an octopus. He doesn't know what they are, and they made the list above me. It's kind of bullshit. I'll be talking a lot about my son tonight. And I know it's a little bit of thing that comedians have a kid and then their act becomes about that, but I've always written from a place of honesty, and he's on my mind all the time. He's the most important thing to me, so he comes up. But I do also want to say that I'm aware people don't always love when I mention that I'm a father, because it forces them to consider that at least one time I have been a sexual human being. And I hate how many of you are already laughing. Like, I don't even need to explain why it's funny, the idea of me being sexual. I've known this for a while. I don't have a sexy vibe. I don't really exude sexuality. I've known this about myself. I'm okay with it. I think I figured it out the first time years ago when I was still single and I was playing the field. The first time I tried dirty talk. And instantly I was like, ooh, dirty talk is not for me. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Like, when this is your vibe, dirty talk doesn't work. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't sound right. I've just had to become okay with the fact that no one's ever been in bed with me thinking, I wonder what he has to say about this. It's not a factor. I'm now going to say some dirty talk. We'll all be okay. I promise. We'll get through it quickly and we'll all be okay. I'm only gonna do it so we can explore this idea scientifically together. And this is the most basic entry-level dirty talk there is, okay? If you're a dirty talker, you've said dirtier than this. If you've watched pornography even a handful of times in your life, I'm sure you've heard some version of the following. Let's pretend for our purposes, there's a guy. In this case, he's having sex with a woman. They're going pretty hard. It's probably doggy style. And he says the following. And what's important to remember is it always has the same tone. It always has that same tenor. In pornography, it always sounds the same. He's like, you want me to fuck that pussy? It always sounds like that, right? You want me to fuck that pussy? And like I said, with me, it just comes out really different. Like, with me, it's a lot more like, you want me to fuck that pussy? Like, you want me to? Turns out no one wants dirty talk from a man with visibly low self-esteem. It's just not a thing. I think the thing that surprised me the most about becoming a dad is that when my wife became pregnant, I kept thinking that someone was going to sit me down and go, here's what's expected of you as a parent. Here's the job description. I'm being a dad. And that never happens. No one ever tells you. You just wing it. And then eventually, there's a screaming human in your house, and you grow a beard and have a midlife crisis. And that's how that goes. And I want to address that phrase quickly, midlife crisis. I think I'm using it correctly now. I'm 42 years old now, and I've been through many phases of life. And I think I'm finally using the phrase midlife crisis correctly, because I used to toss that one around back in my 30s. I'd say, oh, I think I'm having a midlife crisis. Nope, those were panic attacks. Totally different thing, it turns out. Even in my 20s, I'd go, oh, I think I'm having an early midlife crisis here. I was not. Quarter life crisis. It's different. And don't worry, this is not going to turn into a guy in his 40s going, young people don't really know stress. They do, and we need them to. Quarter life crises are driven by real stuff. The earth is melting. Fascists are back. We need young people scared and pissed and trying to fix it. We need it. I'm just saying, I've been through both now, and I see the difference between the quarter life and midlife crisis. And I'll tell you, I'm jealous of the quarter life crisis. Because even though it's very real, quarter life crises, they have some elements of adventure to them. And I like that a lot. Like a quarter life crisis, you might just be sitting in your cubicle and you're like, you know what? I don't really like my life. I'm just gonna change it. Fuck it. I quit now. 2 weeks notice? Fuck that. I'm leaving at lunch. I'm not even saying goodbye to these assholes. Out of here, right? If I run out of money, I guess I'll just sleep on couches for a while. Or maybe I'll just throw on a backpack and I'll go to Central America and walk around until I find myself. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe along the way, I'll try some of these new weird drugs I've been hearing about. I hear they got these new hallucinogens now. They don't even have names. They just call them like 2CEF. Give me those. I'll try the science drugs. Who cares? Give me the science drugs, right? Maybe I'll start calling myself Heather Leather and I'll join the roller derby. Yeah? Very popular quarter life crisis. Freak out and join a roller derby. There's adventure inside those things. I'm jealous of that. Because a midlife crisis, it's a little more sedate and a little more sad. Just about a year ago, I signed up to be an ambulance driver on an all-volunteer first aid squad in Morris County, New Jersey. That don't cheer my midlife crisis. No need, no need. It is bad in a big way. I mean, I'd like to claim that I felt this burning desire to do my civic duty or maybe set a good example for my son. And those are factors, sure. But the reality is this. We moved from New York City way out in the sticks of Jersey. Like we're in the boondocks and we live in this town where I don't really know anybody and there's not much to do. And that's what it came down to. The first aid squad put a note in every mailbox in town. And it was like, hey, it's an all volunteer service. We really need new people. If you think you got it in you, come to the meeting. See if it's for you. We read that note. My wife's reaction, she goes, maybe this is a thing you could do. That was the sad conversation surrounding it. Even you would be allowed to participate in this. And I went to the firehouse and I met all the EMTs and most of them were like retirement age men and they've all been doing this forever and they've got inside jokes. And there was this one guy named Larry Wepler and he leaned over and he made a couple jokes to me and I chuckled. And in my head, I was like, I think this is my social life now. I think this is what I do for fun. I think me and Larry Wepler drive around Morris County, New Jersey, saving lives. That's what I do for fun. That's the big difference. When you're in your 20s, you go by Heather Leather. When you're in your 40s, you're hanging out with Larry Wepler. That's it, right there. My shift is Tuesday nights. Starts at 7 p.m. This is true. Every Tuesday at 7, I turn on a pager. And if the pager goes off, I gotta run out the door. I gotta get to the firehouse. It goes overnight until Wednesday at 7 a.m. 12-hour shift every Tuesday night. Think about that. If you ever find yourself in North Jersey on a Tuesday night, and God forbid you have some kind of emergency where you have to call 911, there is a decent chance that I show up. Me, driving the ambulance. You want me to fuck the pussy? That guy, I show up. And then me and an elderly man named Larry Wepler climb out and we save you? It makes me so sad. It makes me so sad when I think about it. Because my life used to be cool, man. I used to have a legitimately cool life like 5 or 6 years ago. I do not presume that anybody in here has followed my career, but if you have, you can vouch for me. There was a stretch where I was like a real cool kid when it came to like bullshit, alternative, hipster comedy. When it came to that like Brooklyn-y, weirdo comedy, I was a real hot commodity for a while there, man. There was a stretch where if you had some TV show cut from that cloth on the air for enough seasons, decent chance I was gonna get a part on that show at some point. It was great. I was on a hot streak for years. It has cooled down considerably. That's not what makes me sad. I'm sad for the people of Morris County, New Jersey. Because there's a chance someday some guy's laid out on a stretcher having one of the scariest experiences he's ever had, and then he does a double take and he's like, wait, didn't you play Alana's boss on Broad City? And then he fucking dies. And that's someone's final words. That is the saddest final. No, the only one sadder. It's like someone's getting CPR and it's all intense. And he's like, hold on. You played Toby on The Office, right? And I'll be like, actually, no, my character's name was Trevor, season 9. But a lot of people do mix that up. And I don't really know why. Like, I don't think me and that actor look all that much alike. He's a good guy. I've met him, but like we're both gingers. Like, and then just beep. Dead. My favorite thing about joining the First Aid Squad is that when I did it for 6 months, they gave me the jacket. And I don't think I even need to explain. You know the jacket I mean. Imagine an ambulance pulls up to the scene and then the driver climbs out and you can see it, that navy blue where you're like, is that a fleece or a windbreaker? What is that right there, right? And it has the emblem right there. And my town, the emblem happens to feature a drawing with an ambulance. And above it, it says the name of the town. Below it, it says First Aid. Now, I wear the jacket on Tuesday nights around the house. Because if the pager goes off, I can't be wasting time trying to locate the jacket. So I just wear it all night. And the first Tuesday that I wore it, my son saw it. And he said, Daddy, that's a cool jacket. And I said, thanks so much, man. And he goes, I like that picture with the ambulance. I said, thank you. And then it got really interesting. He went, I know what those words say. Now I was very intrigued by this because he's 3 years old. And he cannot read. Not even close. So I really wanted to know. I go, what do you think the words say? And he goes, well, above the picture, it says Daddy. And underneath, it says ambulance. And I looked at him. I said, man, you are so adorably naive. If you think your dorky father could ever pull off a nickname as baller as Daddy Ambulance. That's the most amazing nickname I've ever heard. I could never, ever pull that off. There is not a world where I'm walking down the street and from across the way, someone's like, yo, Daddy Ambulance. And I'm like, whoop, whoop. Sirens always blaring, baby. Parties never stopping. Bottles always popping, panties always dropping. Daddy Ambulance. I wish that was me. I mentioned that we moved back to the suburbs. I had lived in New York City for 16 years. 16 years. And we had Cal. We decided it was time to move back to the suburbs. And I was nervous. I was like, man, I'm so used to having access to all these city activities, and I'm not gonna have access to them anymore. And that's proven true. But I didn't realize that there's all kinds of suburban activities, and they fill the void. They've been filling it very nicely. Like, I grew up in the suburbs, but I was never a homeowner, and now I know there's all sorts of maintenance and things to fix and keep an eye on. And I don't know if anybody else here has ever had this experience where like, oh, turns out I'm all about that suburban life. I didn't know I would be. Like, one activity that I really love, most of the year I do it probably once a week. I find it really satisfying. It's called edging, and I cannot get enough of it. I really like it. And I'm just gonna call this out. Everybody who just left, you're a pervert. You got a dirty mind. Because it has been explained to me that there are apparently multiple activities known as edging. And one of them is sort of like a kinky sexual thing, I guess. And the way it's been explained to me is, I guess you'll like build towards sexual climax, but you don't allow it to happen. You just stop beforehand and you just let it totally go away. And then you build back towards it, you stop, and you can do it by yourself or with a partner, and you repeat it as long as you wish. And I guess the theory is that when you do finally allow orgasm to occur, apparently it's ultra satisfying. I don't know. It's not the type of edging I'm all of a sudden way into now that I'm raising a toddler in Morris County, New Jersey. That would be an insane thing to fly halfway across the United States of America to tell you about. No, the type of edging I'm into is the type where when you're done mowing your lawn, you get out the weed whacker. You turn it 90 degrees. You go around the edges of the grass. Anywhere where the grass meets the sidewalks, the driveways, the mulch beds, you get it looking tight like the back of a Marine's haircut, man. That's the type of edging I'm all about. I cannot get enough of it. I get out there with my weed whacker. I'm like going around the edges. I'm like, I love this so much. This is the best. This is the best part of my day right here. You know what? This is the best part of my day. Why am I rushing through it? I don't want this to be over yet. I'm gonna put this weed whacker down. I'm just gonna walk away. I'm gonna forget about that for a while. I'm gonna do something else. Out of sight, out of mind. I'm just gonna water the flowers or something. Forget about it. And now let's get back into that sweet, sweet edge, baby. Let's live on the edge, man. Ooh, loving it. I am edging. We're getting there. Finish line is in sight, baby. Let's get a little closer. I don't want to hit the finish. You know what? Walk away. Clear your mind. Think about baseball. Focus on anything else. And all I can tell you guys is when I look around and I'm finished, like when the grass is done and I realize that I have edged to completion, full head to toe body satisfaction. It's incredible. Really like it. Well, I'm glad we have some other lawn care enthusiasts. Thank you so much. Had a bunch of jokes so far. We'll have more jokes throughout the evening. We'll have some stories along the way as well, but for now, big question that's on my mind. Why am I doing this tonight? Why am I here on this stage doing this? And don't get me wrong, I am insanely appreciative of the fact that you guys came out. I'm psyched. I'm psyched to be doing it. I'm psyched you showed up. But I have been a comedian for 23 years of my life now. And you'd think at some point I'd get over this compulsion. Because that's what it is. I have to admit the truth. It's a compulsion. I know that now. To leave my family behind, to not be tucking my son into bed right now. And instead, to fly across the country and wind up in Detroit, then drive 7 hours through a blizzard to get to the middle of Illinois. And now I'm here tonight, and it's a nice place, but you guys sit in the dark, and there's these lights in my eyes, and I can't really see you, but I can sense where you are. And if you laugh from the darkness, it reflects some sense of approval, right? Like, why do I still need that? And the reason I ask is because there's consequences now. My son's 4, that's old enough to mess with my head. It's also old enough that he's figured out what I do, and he doesn't like it. It's rough. When I left for this wing of the tour, I went to him and I kneeled down before I left for the airport, and I said, okay, buddy, I'm gonna be gone for 4 days. You're gonna be a good boy for mommy? And he looked at me and went, Daddy, don't go. And it's rough. I did a festival last August in Edinburgh, the Fringe Festival. You stay for the entire month. And on day 8, I FaceTimed him, and he wouldn't talk to me. And I went, buddy, you gotta come say hello. What's going on? And he turned around and went, why? I'm never gonna see you again. And it hurt. And those consequences are only gonna get more real in coming years. Like right now, he doesn't like that I leave, but in a few years, I'm gonna be missing things. It's gonna get even worse. He's gonna go, why'd you miss another basketball game? Why'd you miss my dance recital? Whoever he turns into, I will be missing things along the way. And when he asks me that, it's really important to me to have an answer because my dad missed a lot of stuff growing up. And I want to be clear right out of the gate. My dad's still around. He's the best. Great guy, great dad. Really is. I don't want that to be misconstrued in any way. But he did miss a lot of stuff. He didn't travel as much as I do for work. His thing was more Anybody else raised by one of those baby boomer workaholics? Anybody else raised by one of those dads of that generation where work was where they found their pride, and sometimes I'll work 14 or 15 hours and you'll get a call that I'm not coming home and you just got to deal with it because work is where I find my pride, and everybody deal with it. Just those stoic, keep emotion at a distance baby boomer men. That was my dad, and you know, it wasn't always great when those days would happen. And when my son asks me, I want to have an answer. And here's the one I'm going with right now. Every time I do a show, before I get out there, I've been doing this for years, I tell myself, there's someone in the room tonight having the worst day out of anybody here. Somebody in here tonight is having the shittiest day or the shittiest week out of all of us. That's just mathematically true. If we took time to learn about each other, we'd probably all collectively turn around and go, seems like this person's having the worst week out of all of us. And the way I see it, if I can get that person to laugh a few times for the hour that I'm up here, maybe they can have a little bit of a better day. That feels like a job that's worth leaving for. And I want to be extremely clear. I am not claiming that stand-up comedy is heroic in any way. It's not. It's a really weird culture full of bullies and masturbators. You guys have been hearing these stories, right? Like, we've always known on the inside that it gets really fucked up, but now it's starting to come out into the public light. But I do think that there's something good about wanting to tell jokes because people have bad days all the time. There might be somebody in this room tonight who maybe this week you had to say goodbye to a pet. You had to go to a vet and put down your dog, and it was really hard, and you're at the end of the week and you're like, you know what, I just want a few laughs. Let's go to a comedy show. If that's the case, I'm so sorry that happened. I will do my best, I promise. Thank you for coming. Thanks for the opportunity. Maybe you spent all week dealing with some shitty boss. Maybe you just have some shitty, ego-driven boss who can never admit when he does things wrong, and he's always trashing you for stuff that's his fault, and now he likes to do it in front of everybody on Zoom half the time, so you just gotta sit and watch your own face in a box while you eat shit and take it from a dickhead. Deal with that all week. You're like, fuck that, let's go get some drinks, have some laughs. Thanks for coming out. I'll do my best. Maybe somebody's in this room and they got stood up on a date tonight. Maybe somebody had 2 tickets and the date no-showed and they're sitting here going, man, I don't know, was there an accident? Am I getting ghosted? Did I say something wrong? They're in that terrible headspace. And I sit here, I go, man, I get to help everybody forget their problems for a while. Outside of this portion of the show, where I'm explicitly asking you to dwell deeply on those problems. But I do just want to say, if you're sitting there right now and you're thinking, I have a feeling tonight it's me. I have a feeling I'm the person having the shittiest day out of anybody here. I just want you to know this show's dedicated to you, and I mean that. And don't get me wrong, I hope everybody has a good time. I want everybody to have a few laughs, even if you're having a great week. Even if you're the person having the best day out of anybody here. I hope you enjoy the show. Like, there might be somebody here going, if I'm being honest, that dog was an asshole, and I'm glad it's dead. The dog fucking sucked, man. It always wanted to go take shits during blizzards. Fuck that dog. I'm celebrating its death. Good riddance. Like, maybe that's you. I don't know. Maybe you have a boss who says stuff like, get innovative, and means it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you have a great boss. Who knows? Maybe there's some couple here tonight, not only did they not stand each other up, they were leaving the house, they got all the way to the foyer, and one member of the couple turned to the other and was like, hey, feel free to say no. I don't want to make things weird, but any interest in a 69? And the other member of the couple was like, all right, let's see what happens. And they took off their clothes right there in the foyer, and they laid down on the ground, and they performed mutual oral love on one another. And it was the most pleasant and efficient 69 of all time. The whole thing was done in about 8 minutes flat. They came at the same exact moment, legitimately. They didn't have that thing where one member of the couple finished, and then the other's like, oh, wow, they're done already. I better focus and hurry. Oh, now I'm never gonna finish that. Nobody else gets 69 anxiety? Am I the only one who has dealt with 69 anxiety in this room? And then they were done, and they stood back up right there in the foyer. Like, these people have a good life. They got a foyer. Their house sounds awesome, you know? Like, they're killing it real estate-wise, and they put their clothes back on, and then they wiped off their mouths, and then they put on their jackets, and they each found a $20 bill in the pocket that they didn't know was there. Somebody's having a night like that tonight, and if that's you, God bless you. May the good luck streak continue. I am jealous, and I hope you enjoy this show. It's just not dedicated to you, okay? Don't get greedy. As I said, I don't really know the job description for being a dad. I thought I did. I figured it was my job to teach them, right? Teach them things about the world, how to exist in the world. But that's proven very false. It's a naive thought. At least in these first 3.5 years of his life, I have not taught him much of anything at all. Mostly, I just kind of try to hang on and watch and listen and learn. And he's actually taught me way more than I've taught him. That's really true. He teaches me things all the time. He doesn't even know he's doing it. And a lot of them are small things, and there's a few that have been really profound, actually. One thing that I learned right away is this. I grew up, I was born in 1980, so people ask me, when did you grow up? I go, 80s, 90s. Those were my decades, 80s and 90s, right? And having a toddler right now, it shows me that if you grew up any time near when I did, our childhood was real fucked up. Turns out it was real fucked up, man. Like, 80s parenting in particular. I don't know if anybody else was raised in the 80s. The parenting choices made collectively by society in the 80s were so strange by today's standards. 80s parenting was wild. It would be summer in the 80s, and your parents would just be like, cool, the sun's up, get on a bike and just go, leave. Come back for dinner. Come back for dinner. Not even lunch. If you miss lunch, we'll just assume you ate at a friend's house. It's fine. But when those street lights come on, start heading home, eat dinner with us, complete and total freedom. We don't have cell phones. We have no way to get in touch, but just go out, ride a bike forever. See ya. Don't need to hear from you. Oh, also, by the way, if you ever see a van, that person's trying to kidnap and rape you. Never trust a clown. If you go anywhere near the woods, there are Satanists in there. They're chopping off chicken heads, and they'll chop off your head too. If anyone gives you a Mickey Mouse sticker, it's LSD. Don't put it on your skin. If someone hands you an apple, that's not nutritious. Razor blades. You'll cut your mouth up. And also, remember that cereal you had for breakfast? Remember that milk carton? It's gonna be you next time getting kidnapped, you dickhead. Anyway, I'll see you at dinner. Enjoy the freedom. It was wild back then. So much has changed now. Societal shifts have reframed questions, and doctors' advice contradicts what they used to say, and even government-mandated stuff is just different. My favorite example of that one is this. Clap if you remember a thing called the food pyramid. You guys remember the food pyramid? Most of us. Not everybody's clapping. It's a simple thing. Everybody can vouch for me. It was a nutritional guide that we grew up with. And really, it was just a poster, right? And it was in every health class and most homerooms, and it just kind of existed in the background for a lot of us, for our entire school experience. And it was the pyramid because it was a triangle, and the triangle was split into sections. And each section listed a food group, dairy, proteins, fruits and veggies, said how much you should be eating every day from each food group. Now, I looked it up. The Food and Drug Administration gave this thing a big thumbs up in 1992. That was the year that they were like, nutrition, go with this, you're golden, okay? I looked it up. That food pyramid says that you should eat 6 to 11 servings of bread every day. Now, I want to analyze your reaction to that, because it's always very interesting for me, because I appreciate the laugh. I thank you for it, but I think you guys might feel it too. You could feel that one was different than any other laugh thus far, right? It really was. We could feel it was sort of more rolling. There were people laughing sort of louder in a higher pitch than they have thus far tonight. And most importantly, we could hear all over this room here in St. Louis, people felt a need to turn to each other and discuss that one. People were going like, there was a lot of fucking bread. Like, you could feel a lot of people saying that to each other. And I always find it very fascinating. And I want to be clear, it might seem strange right now, like I'm patting myself on the back for getting a laugh, but it's actually the opposite. I promise you, because what I really want to do is admit to you and point out, I did not deserve any laugh on that, because there was no punchline there. That was just exposition. I didn't offer any commentary on it. There has not been a twist. All I've done thus far is faithfully remind you of the real information that they actually put on that poster and had the gall to hang up in our classrooms back in the day. So all we've done thus far is come together here in St. Louis and prove that by today's standards, the way they raised us is laugh out loud funny. It makes us laugh out loud when we think about how they raised us. 11 servings of bread in a day? That's an insane thought by modern standards. Can you imagine going in front of a classroom full of kids right now and going, you guys, you want to be healthy? All bread, all day, every day. Go. They'd be like, you gotta come on. You can't be around children. We gotta get you out of here. They wouldn't allow it. If you were leaving this show tonight and you were walking to your car and somebody jumped in front of you and was like, excuse me, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I'm about to eat my 11th serving of bread today. You'd take time out of your busy evening. You'd get involved. You'd be like, no, don't do that. That's an insane thought. Get out your phone right now. We're going to call somebody who loves you. We've got to involve loved ones in this. We're having an intervention. 11 servings of bread? That's 5 entire sandwiches. And another loose piece of bread. It's too much. I'm very fond of that joke because in 23 years, it's the closest I've ever written to a Seinfeld joke right there. That one's just so close to being, what's the deal with all the bread in the 9 days? It's right there. Having my son taught me that there's new versions of old feelings. That one was shocking. I was 39 years old when my son was born. I figured I had felt all the feelings. On some level, I figured I knew the feelings. But there's new versions of feelings that your own kid can teach you. New versions of guilt and anger and all sorts of things. Pressure's a good one. That one he taught me before he was even born. I've been in situations in my life where I know pressure, certainly, but I never felt pressure. Like when I realized I was partially responsible for giving a human being a name. And then that's his name forever. Unless I fuck it up so bad that someday he's like, I gotta go file paperwork. Where'd you go to the DMV? How do I change this bullshit, right? Like, because I'm of the opinion, names can really affect a person's options in life, can really point them in a certain direction, in a narrow way. For example, I once read about this mathematician, very accomplished guy in his field, early half of the 20th century, did a lot of brilliant stuff, came up with a lot of math that pretty directly led to modern computing. Really brilliant guy. His name was Norbert Wiener. Now, I'm sorry. All kudos to Mr. Wiener for everything he accomplished in life, but if your name is Norbert Wiener, you do math professionally. That's what you're allowed to do. If you go and try to become a server at the Applebee's, they're like, no, go do calculus, Norbert. Like, what are you doing, man? Your name is Norbert Wiener. That's it. So I was really thoughtful about the name thing. I felt a lot of pressure. And his name is Caleb. It's a classic. But no one calls him that. Everyone calls him Cal. And I think we nailed it. It's a good fit for this kid. If you're ever lucky enough to meet him, he's a rambunctious boy. He's funny. He never stops moving. He's got big Cal energy. And I'm not a huge baseball fan, but Cal Ripken, he was the Iron Man. That's pretty cool, right? And the nerds in the room know Superman's real name is not Clark Kent. His real name is Kal-El, right? Like, these are pretty good examples. I like it. Cal, short and sweet, simple. I did think about going in the opposite direction. The very unique name. The one you don't hear all that often. My generation of parents, that's kind of been our MO, right? You don't meet too many kids just named John anymore. Mary. Now things are very flowery, very unique. Artisanal, you might say. People in their early 40s, they want everything artisanal, even the baby names, these Whole Foods names, right? Like artisanal baby names. We found out we were having a boy, and I really wanted to name him Phoenix. I was pushing it for a while. I think that name is so cool. It's mythological in a way that I like. It's kind of ambiguous in a way that feels very modern. Phoenix, I like that name. And then I said the full name out loud. I went, Phoenix Gethard. Phoenix Gethard, I can't do that. I'm about to Norbert Wiener my own child. Because I'm sorry, but if your name is Phoenix Gethard, your only option in life is you end up selling CBD-laced drip coffee at music festivals specifically. And that's gonna lead to a confrontation many years down the line where I had to sit him down and be like, Phoenix, this coffee thing, it's cool, but why only at music festivals? Why not sign a lease on a brick and mortar space, become a small business owner? He'll be like, Dad, you've never taken any time to even try to understand my culture. I'll be like, no, I get why Burning Man is cool. Like, you hang out with hippies in the desert for an entire month. I see why that's cool. He'll be like, it's not just hanging out with hippies in the desert, Dad, okay? It's actually a celebration of creativity and community. And I'll be like, and that's awesome. But what about the other 11 months of the fucking year, dude? And he'll be like, Dad, you know what you've never taken any time to even try to understand? You've never understood this. Is at the end of Burning Man, every single year, we have this super tall wooden man, okay? And we light him on fire. And we do that partially to symbolize burning away all the bullshit expectations that society hoists upon us. Much like this bullshit expectation that you're hoisting upon me right now. And I'll be like, okay. And he'll be like, but even more importantly, Dad, at the beginning of the festival, the next year, every single year, we rebuild that wooden man. He rises once again, and I'll say, don't say like, and he'll go, much like the phoenix you named me for. Everything's your fault, Dad. You gave me no options. Now let me borrow $1,400. This next part of the show, it might be the one you've read about a little bit. It has created some controversy. People do not always like the following. But I'm gonna say it, and I stand by it. Because I don't know if you guys have heard, but comedians are the final truth tellers, man. I heard that on TikTok, amongst other ideas that are bad for society. But I'm gonna say it, and if you don't like it, I'm okay with that. Raising a toddler has taught me that Elmo is the greatest character in the history of television. And that's about the reaction that usually gets. Adults are not fans of Elmo, it turns out. They find him very annoying. It's pretty universally agreed upon. Elmo wasn't on Sesame Street for most of us. We're too old. There were little kid humans. He's now the little kid monster. He represents them. Right? And the number one complaint, it's always the same. Friends of mine will come over, they'll see the Elmo toys. They go, ooh, Elmo, he's so annoying. Why do they have to make him talk all cutesy? He talks in third person. Elmo this, Elmo that. It's so annoying. Well, guess who else talks in third person? My son, for a really long time, as he struggled to figure out the English language. It's a hard language, and he had a tough time. And every other toddler I've been around goes through a similar phase where they're speaking in third person. Adults find it cute. They just get embarrassed. They feel shame. You watch them clam up and learn humiliation, and we don't even notice it, and they hate it, and they throw temper tantrums. It's rough to watch. Meanwhile, Elmo never hesitates, never apologizes for who he is. He just walks on screen. He's like, Elmo wants to sing Elmo's song. Sing it, bitches, and they do every time. Because if you've watched Modern Sesame Street, you know Elmo's the apex predator of that food chain now. It's remarkable. He runs that show. His best friends are a 15-foot tall bird and a full-sized elephant. They do this subtle thing where he never looks up at them. They always come down to his level because he's the godfather and he runs that shit. And I would watch my son watch Elmo, and then my son would be more brave about trying words, less apologetic for who he is. Elmo gave my son confidence. I'll always love him for that. But that's not why he's the best ever. I started thinking pretty hard about Elmo, and there's a few things about him that really blow me away, especially when you combine them. The first one's this. If you're like me, and you've been watching a lot of Elmo in recent years, either because you're also raising a young child, or you're a creep. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why you're watching it. You might know that Elmo has something of a catchphrase. Pretty much every Elmo segment ends the same way. More often than not, he looks right into the camera and he goes, bye, Elmo loves you, which is a great catchphrase. And the really remarkable thing is every time he says it, it feels like he means it. And that's wild because he's a puppet. and it feels real. And you think about it, those puppeteers and those voice actors have said that thousands upon thousands of times, and yet it never feels fake. It never feels false. It always feels real. Kudos to them. It's remarkable. Second thing I want to think about is this. I think we can all agree that it's a good thing HBO rescued Sesame Street, right? Remember that? A few years ago, they almost canceled Sesame Street. They said, we don't have the money for it anymore. Everybody was scared. And then HBO stepped in. They said, guys, we got it. We'll keep the old ones up there. We'll make new content. Sesame Street is saved. You can chill out, America. And it feels good. Kudos to them for doing it. It's a really great thing. But I think we can also all agree that where Sesame Street really belongs is PBS, right? That was a special thing for us growing up. Because I grew up in North Jersey in a town that was very divided, and I was in one of the working class neighborhoods. And I have a feeling that here in St. Louis, some other people might identify with this sentiment. When I grew up, HBO, that was for the fucking rich kids, man. That's who that shit was for. Nobody had HBO. You had to be a rich kid, or you had to have some pervert uncle who liked pornography enough to go get that box. And then you could see HBO, right? Nobody had HBO. And it bums me out now to think about the fact that Sesame Street is on a pay service that a lot of kids, their families probably can't afford. Because back in the day, if your parents worked hard enough and they could just keep the electricity bill paid, keep that TV plugged in, you got Sesame Street. And that's an important thing. Because I think maybe kids from families that don't have much are the ones who might need Sesame Street the most. Especially now. Because I think they might be the families where those kids might not hear the words, I love you, as often as they should. And they still get to hear the words, Elmo loves you. Now, I'm not trying to imply that poor families don't feel love or express it. I think the opposite is true. But I think one of the fucked up things about capitalism is that financial stress brings with it all other types of stress. I bet I'm not the only person, certainly in this town, who grew up knowing a family where maybe there was a bunch of financial stress and the dad couldn't handle it. He started drinking a bit too much to try to numb that pain, and then that alcohol brought with it a world of problems nobody saw coming. I saw that happen in many families in my neighborhood. I bet I'm not the only person here who remembers a family that had some good kids in it, smart kids. But those kids, they had parents who both had to work, and they both had to work at night. So those kids were raising themselves, latchkey kids, and they start getting in trouble for stuff way too young. Way too young. It's a shame, right? Those kids might not hear, I love you. They hear, Elmo loves you. He brings love to kids who might not get it elsewhere. I've never known a character who gives more to his audience than that. Elmo's the best ever. You won't convince me otherwise. People do try. They wait for me after shows. I'm begging you, please don't do this. It's never comfortable. It's never comfortable. People come up to me. There's been a few names that come up on a recurring basis, and I'm psyched when they do. Like one that I've been so happy to hear. People have come up to me more than once and gone, dude, Lucille Ball, best ever in TV. And I love Lucille Ball. I do. The thing she did with Harpo Marx, it's laugh out loud funny today. If you haven't seen it, go find it. But the bottom line is this. Lucy is now the second best redhead in TV history, all right? Elmo has taken the crown. My favorite, I only got this once. A guy was waiting for me after a show, and as I'm leaving, he goes, bro, I gotta talk to you. And I was like, oh, okay, what's up, man? And he goes, 2 words, Jack Bauer. I was like, really? The guy from 24? He's like, yeah, man, best character ever. And I'm like, look, he's a really good action character, no argument there. And honestly, kudos to this guy. He had a heroin addiction, and he beat it in 4 episodes of a show that happens in real time. He kicked heroin in 4 hours. It's impressive. But we all know Elmo would have done it in 2, man. He would have stopped chasing the dragon. He would have had time for a song at the end. The one I get most often, people come up to me, and they go, are you really gonna say that Elmo is a better character than Tony Soprano? And I tell you, I've mentioned a few times tonight, I'm from North Jersey, but not just North Jersey. I'm from Essex County, New Jersey. That's mostly where that show took place. And we've got a real special pride in that where I grew up, okay? If you watch the Many Saints of Newark movie they did on HBO, teenage Tony is pictured wearing a West Orange High School varsity jacket. I graduated from West Orange High School. Me and Tony Soprano are both proud West Orange High School mountaineers, okay? I have a real special love for Tony Soprano, I promise you. But look, bottom line is this. Nothing cute happens when you tickle Tony Soprano. And with Elmo, it's adorable. You gotta try it. Now I wanna be fully honest with you guys, because I cheated a little bit back there. Because in that little rant, I said that maybe there are kids in this world who don't hear the words, I love you, from their parents. I posed that as a maybe. But I know that there's kids like that because I'm one of them. I'm 42 years old, and to date, my dad has never said the words, I love you, to me. And it's fine. I promise you, it's okay. I also phrased that unfairly. That's not fair. We don't say it to each other, all right? It's not like I'm walking up to him going, Dad, I love you. And he's like, ew. Like that would be a much different thing. We've just never said it. We've never said it to each other, and now I'm 42 years in, and I've got this mental block, and I just don't think I'm gonna say it first, and it's fine. We don't say it to each other. And it's cool because I'm fairly certain that my dad loves me. Like, because I love my dad so much. I really do. And I'm like 80% sure that he loves me, you know? Although my dad, I mentioned before, he was one of those workaholic guys. And like a lot of those dudes, anybody else raised by a dad who's not a chit-chat guy, he doesn't really say things just to say them. He says things when he means them. My dad has that vibe as well. So I have considered that maybe when I was very young, my father just looked at me and went, I don't love him. Maybe my father doesn't say I love you because straight up, he does not love me. Maybe that's what's going on. And I can feel that some of you are weirded out that I'm giggling as I say that because it's a disturbing thought, right? But I actually found it to be a very inspiring thought because I didn't think about that until after Cal was born. And I'll tell you what, I still don't know the job description on being a dad, but I know that I have been completely exhausted for 4 straight years. I know that I'm scared more often than anybody in my life realizes, and it's hard. And all things considered, my dad did a great job. He really did. He kept a roof over our heads. He kept food on the table. There were times where my family had some real financial stress going on. I never knew about those hard times until they passed. I look at him and the sacrifices he made. I go, if you did all that for me and you never loved me this entire time, kudos to the chef. Because that's super heroic, man. I don't know how I would ever do all this stuff for Cal if I didn't love him so much. You'll be happy to hear that my father does say I love you to Cal. Oftentimes in front of me. And that can be a lot. Happens on FaceTime when it happens, usually. My kid's a pandemic baby, born 2019. So there's been a lot of video chatting in this child's life. And he finds it cute. Like, my son knows that he's cute, and he's good at English now. He's really got the language down. And he realizes sometimes when the conversation's wrapping up, he'll go up to the iPad and he'll go, I love you, Pa. And my dad will go, I love you, Cal. And then I'm like, yeah, all right, bye. And then we just end the call. He says, I love you to my wife. That one's more fucked up, right? That always gets a couple gasps, because in our brains we can go like, okay, the grandchild, there's the biological chain and connection. My wife, I'm like, I introduced you to. This is a bunch of bullshit right here, man. But she let it fly first. She doesn't have this 40-year mental block to push through. And again, one night on FaceTime, she let it fly. She's just like, love you. And he's like, love you, Hallie. Love you, Cal. And I'm like, yeah, TTYL, man. All right. Goodbye. I once did a show in Manhattan, New York, and my father attended the show, and I got him to come up on stage, and he was great. It was so funny. He was so charming. I did an audience Q&A. I thought that was a good idea. You've seen this comedian, and now a Q&A with him and his dad. And it was really fun, and the audience was asking questions, and my hand to God, someone in the back corner of the room goes, yeah, I don't have a question. I just want to see you guys say I love you. And without missing a beat, my father goes, not really our thing, man. And we just got back to the conversation. We never mentioned it. On stage, off stage, we never discussed that it happened. That might be the closest we've come to actually saying I love you. And you guys can feel, this one doesn't really have a punchline. You can feel that, right? This one doesn't have that energy where it's building, like, this is not like 5 sandwiches and more bread. That's not this. But if I'm gonna start the show by saying, like, why do I still feel this compulsion to leave my family behind and not tuck my son in and drive through blizzards and wake up for early flights to come here tonight so you can sit in the dark and I can't even see you, but if you laugh, it demonstrates some approval for me? Why do I need that? I don't think you need a psychology degree to loop it right back to this shit with my dad, right? But I tell you what, a lot of what I've spoken about tonight is different things that my son has taught me. And I can tell you that hands down, the thing Cal has taught me the most about is my father. And that's been the profound one. Because right away, I think all the parents in the room will know exactly what I mean. Kids really underline the whole actions and words thing. It's really true with kids. Words do not matter. They don't care about words. It's wild. But you think about it, when they're babies, there's just this constant stream of words around them all the time. They don't understand any of it. They learn to just disregard all of them. Words are totally disposable to little kids. They blow away like trash on the wind. And your empty threats mean nothing. Your false promises, they don't care. They see right through them. Words don't matter. But actions do. Kids really respect actions, and it's wild to see. You take an action, it has an effect. They weave that into their life experience, and they respect it. And it's pretty cut and dry. And it makes me think about my dad so much, because he might be lacking in the words department in some ways, but when it comes to action, you can't question the guy. And I hope I can be half the dad he was in that department. For example, maybe my father has never said the words, I love you, but he did do this once. So I've mentioned a few times that I grew up in North Jersey back in the 80s. I look like this, and my last name spells out the words Gethard. Like some of you laughing are probably thinking like, oh, you must have gotten bullied back then, right? And I did. It was the 80s. You remember 80s bullying, right? Those of us who were alive back then. 80s, that's when they perfected bullying. 70s was disco, 90s was rollerblading. 80s, they brought bullying to new heights, man. They really crushed it. Me and my brother, we took it on the chin for a while there. My brother's 2.5 years older than me. He also has the Gethard name. We look very similar, except he also had braces, which I never had. And remember how there was that kid in school who for a year or two had that eye patch Band-Aid thing to correct the lazy eye? My brother had that too, man. We were the Gethard bros. We had a target on our backs for a while there. And there was one stretch of life where there was this kid who was coming after us. He was much older. He was 17 when this all took place. My brother was 14. I was 12. He was that much older, coming after kids that much younger. He was a real piece of shit. He really was. He still is, if I'm being honest. I look him up on Facebook every few years to check, and he still is. I'm like, yup, you're still a fucking piece of shit. And you might be sitting here right now going like, oh, Gethard's getting kind of emotional. I bet this guy's name isn't Mike. Yeah, it is Mike. Fuck you. I'm not protecting him. I wish I could say his last name, but we're filming it on camera tonight. But I'll tell you this, I've been assured by lawyers that Mike is a common enough name that I won't get in trouble. And if you grew up in my neighborhood, he's not the Mike that lived on Maple Street, the other fucking Mike. Go figure it out. It's not that hard. Just do it yourself. And that guy was no fucking picnic either, by the way. My dad knew it was a tough neighborhood. He grew up there. He bought the house across the street from his. I could see into my grandparents' yard from my window. My dad valued that toughness. Part of why he could just work 14 hours and never complain was he was a tough guy. Still a tough guy. I think he wanted his sons to have that toughness. But Fortunately, he got two weirdo kids. He got two weirdo artists. That's who he got. I wound up, I'll tell you, you'd be shocked. If I told you how many fights I got into growing up, physical fights, you'd be pretty surprised. And I don't think it's a cool thing. I'm not bragging about it. It's actually really warped. It's disturbing to think about. Now, my older brother, he was never a fighter. He didn't want to fight. It was not him. That drove my father nuts. And then we'd have to deal with that thing where you're like, man, we already got our asses kicked, and now we're getting yelled at about it too. He'd be like, if they're coming at you, you see they're gonna hit you, you hit them first, all right? They hit you, you hit them harder. If you have to, you pick up a rock, you bash in their skull. That's a quote from my dad. I was like, got it. It explains a lot about my personality issues around my teens and 20s. But anyway, there was one night, we were hanging out at the Our Lady of Lourdes Church parking lot. This church, it was 3 blocks from our house, and we used to hang out in that parking lot at night when we were teenagers and preteens, acting like little tough guys. And Mike showed up, and he got his hands on my brother, and it was really bad. It was very bad. It was the worst I saw the bullying get in my childhood, as far as what I personally witnessed. And I have found that as I've worked on this show, people really want to know the details. That's some feedback I've gotten it, and I'll just ask you to respect the fact that it was bad. It's much more my brother's story than mine. I think you can tell I don't really like what happened, and I'd like to just move on and let you know. I'll tell you, just to put it in perspective, though, it's the type of bullying where a year and a half ago, I got an Instagram DM from a guy who said, hey, I don't know if you remember me. I grew up in your neighborhood. And I did, and he was a good kid. He goes, I'm really glad you've lived as publicly as you have, because it allowed me to track you down, and I was really psyched to see that you and your brother are both still alive. Like that type of bullying, where people in my neighborhood are reaching out to me in my 40s, psyched I'm alive and my brother's alive. Like it was dark. And eventually we got out of there. We got away from the situation and we ran home. And I was chagrined to see that my dad's dinner was still on the table, which meant that he worked straight through dinner. Again, this was a thing that happened with him sometimes. He was never in a great mood on those nights, even under the best of circumstances, let alone with this. So I was bracing myself for some yelling when he got home, but it didn't happen that night. He asked us to explain to him what went down, and we did, and he stopped us. He interrupted us. He goes, just stop talking. Was it Mike? And we said it was. And he just turned around and he walked out the door. Now, I did not know the rest of this story until 2 years ago. Because you guys can tell, this one affected me, and I suppressed this one. I didn't want to think about it. But then Cal was born, and for some reason, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And the very first time my dad visited us when we bought our house in Jersey, we were sitting on the patio, and I said, Dad, I keep thinking about that night. And I realized I don't know what actually happened when you left. And he filled me in. He got back in the car, and he drove to that church parking lot. Important detail, I look a lot like my mom's side of the family, all right? My dad is 6'2", and back then he was 220 pounds. Most parts of the country, he's a pretty big guy. That's not a small man, most people's standards. I know that I'm in a town where everybody's like, our fathers lift beer kegs with one hand over their head. Like, I understand. You guys are tough motherfuckers out here. But 6'2", 220, pretty big. And he drove down there, pulled into the parking lot. A bunch of the kids were still there, and many of them took off. The ones who had a conscience realized they were about to get in trouble. But Mike and his inner circle of cronies were just all sitting on this guardrail staring at him. So my father pulled the car up and he put the headlights on them, and he got out. And he started walking towards them, and they all started laughing at him, laughing at my dad. And Mike stood up, tried to act like a tough guy. He goes, what are you really gonna do about it, man? And my father goes, nothing tonight, Mike. And they stopped laughing, because that's a weird thing to say. Mike tries to maintain the tough guy shtick. He goes, what's that supposed to mean, nothing tonight? My father goes, Mike, if I remember right, you're 17 now, yeah? And he goes, yeah, so what? My father goes, well, that means if I wait a year, I'll get in a lot less trouble. And now it goes silent, because these kids are all like, oh, we're in Taxi Driver. This is like a Charlton Heston revenge movie now. This is bad. And now there's total silence. My father continues. He goes, Mike, you know, I work really long hours. And at least a few nights a week, I'm driving home really late. And more often than not, I'll see you just wandering around out on the streets, man, because I guess you don't have anything better to do with your time. And I'm just warning you, you gotta be really careful out there on Eagle Rock Avenue, okay? Because we all know that road's really curvy. And when you get above Mountain Ave, you're along the woods there. It's really dark too, Mike. And I work these long hours. A lot of times I'm really tired behind the wheel. And I just have this bad feeling that, God forbid, if someday there is an accident and I hit you with a car, I promise I'm gonna hit you so hard, it takes them weeks to find your fucking body in the woods. And then he got back in the car, and he came home, and that's the next part I actually remember, is he just sat down and ate his dinner, and we didn't talk about any of this shit until 2 years ago. Now, I was not there to personally witness all of those details, but I promise you, it must have been chilling. Because my father has exactly one thing in common with Elmo. When he says something, really feels like he means it. Maybe my father has never said the words, "I love you" to me, but he once threatened to kill a teenager on my behalf. And I have a feeling that back in North Jersey in the late 80s, that might just be how Dad said, "I love you." I think about actions and I think about words. I think about my father, I think about my son. My dad, he never really explained anything to me, but he showed me a lot through his actions. And I'm starting to think that way. This idea that I'm gonna teach Cal how to exist in the world, it's ludicrous. You don't sit down and tell a kid stuff, you show them, right? So what are the actions I can be taking? And I'm trying so hard, I promise you. Like on Tuesday nights, I drive around my town in Jersey in an ambulance with a guy named Larry Wepler, and I feel a little cheesy doing it, but my son is gonna grow up and he's gonna realize someday that the only reason I do it is because there's this thing in my town where you sacrifice some time, you don't get anything back except the chance to help other people. There's not many ways to help other people in this world, and we are in a family where when we see an opportunity to help, we at least try. He's gonna grow up knowing that. Someday my son's gonna look at me and he's gonna say, "Why'd you miss another dance recital? Why are you missing all my basketball games?" I'm gonna tell him, maybe all my career amounted to, after 23 years, was getting a couple hundred people together on a block in St. Louis that had this club and then a bunch of abandoned buildings. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's all I could pull off after 23 years. But somebody in that room was having the worst day out of anybody there. And if I could cheer them up, you gotta go try, because that's kindness. And it's the type of kindness I know how to offer. And I'm of the opinion that if you can offer kindness, you hold back selfishly, makes you a real piece of shit. And I didn't want you to grow up thinking that was okay. So believe it or not, I was trying to set a good example for you, even though I know that it fucking sucks that I'm gone so much. But even those things are theoretical. I'm trying to get a little more active already in the moment. There's one thing I've been doing, it's been helping me a lot. You guys aren't gonna love it at first because it's weirdly pro-kidnapping, but bear with me. Just bear with me. Well, because I'm from the Northeast, right? And we're very impatient people. And one thing I've been doing to solve that is I've started telling myself that every time I talk to a person, they might right now be having the shittiest day of their entire life. Whether it's a 30-second interaction with a clerk at a store or a 40-minute conversation with an old friend, maybe they have a real good poker face on, but underneath it, they're having a terrible, terrible time. And if I just assume that's true, it forces me to summon as much compassion as I would if it was something they had told me about. So it brings me to the top of my compassion, empathy, listening game. And it's helping a lot. Like the impatience thing I mentioned. One thing that's always driven me nuts is if I'm at the bank waiting on the cash machine and the person in front of me is taking too long, sit there and I get so worked up and it sucks, right? And now what I do is I tell myself, maybe that person is right now having the worst day of their entire life. Maybe they just found out that their sister has been kidnapped. Maybe their sister got kidnapped and they're getting ransom money out of that cash machine and they're so nervous that their finger is shaking and they keep messing up the code, and that's why it's taking so long, because they're dealing with their sister being kidnapped. It's the worst day of their life. Let it go. And I don't stand behind them sighing and tapping my foot, and that stress doesn't transfer to them, and we both have just a slightly better day. I was driving to a show in Worcester, Massachusetts a couple years ago, and I was in a big traffic jam on one of those giant New England highways. And there was this woman who still was pulling up in front of everybody, cutting them off. People were honking. They were mad. She almost sideswiped me at one point. I hit the horn. I wasn't even pissed at her. I just really thought she was going to hit me. She pulled up next to me. She rolled down the window. She held her middle finger in my face, started cackling. Then she pulled up and cut me off anyway. When she did, I saw that she had 3 bumper stickers on her car. One was a Blue Lives Matter flag. One said, "Fuck Biden." The other said, "Triggered? Snowflake, I don't care." Now, I don't usually talk about my politics in my work, and I've not asked you about your politics. I'm not insane. I know I'm in Missouri. It's a divided place. You don't know what you're gonna get when you bring it up around here. I think we can all agree on that. But I can tell you, my personal politics, this asshole was built to send me into a fucking rage. Everything about how she was behaving and presenting herself, I just wanted to lean out the window and go, what the fuck is the problem? What's wrong with you? But instead I said to myself, probably what's going on is her sister got kidnapped. Everybody's sister just got kidnapped. It helps me a lot. I go, she's in a huge rush. The ransom money, she's got to get it where it's going. There's a deadline, so she's cutting everybody off. It's fine. Let her go. Her sister just got kidnapped. The middle finger, I bet the kidnappers told her, hey, we're going to fly a drone above your car. We're going to be watching. So we want to see one hand out the window. Then we know another hand is on the wheel. You will not have a free hand to dial 911. Her sister's been kidnapped. Let it go. The bumper stickers, I bet they said to her, at some point we're going to direct you to turn down this lonely, dark dirt road, okay? We're going to have a lookout with binoculars. And the way they'll know it's the correct car is we need you to get the 3 most fucking juvenile bumper stickers you can find. With these shitty little hot takes. Not even, like, you don't even really care about politics. We just need to fucking fight on the highway in this country. You asshole, let it go. Her sister's been kidnapped. It's fine. Maybe we can even summon some compassion for the kidnapper in this scenario, right? Let's imagine the sister tied to a chair, gag in her mouth. Kidnapper's right there, gun to her head. She manages to spit out the gag. She goes, hey, you don't need to do this right now. He goes, yeah? Well, you don't know anything about me. She goes, well, I know you're a human being. And human beings don't just sign up to act like this. So clearly life has pushed you to some really dark places. You're making some really dark choices. Maybe we can talk about those things, figure out some other option for you. He goes, I don't have any other option. My father named me Phoenix. Now give me $1,400. Cal was born a little bit after 3 a.m. And I was still awake at 6 when the sun came up. And I'm telling you guys, it was the most brilliant sunrise I have ever seen. It was one end of the horizon to the other. And it wasn't just yellow and orange. It was like reds, purples. It looked like the whole sky was on fire. And I was watching it, I'm going, the most brilliant sunrise ever. On the morning my son is born, this is the beginning of his hero's journey. You know, like really getting melodramatic about it. And I caught myself. I actually started laughing because it was very silly. Because I realized I was 39 years old when he was born. And there's definitely been a lot of sunrises throughout my lifetime, just as beautiful as that one. But I was sleeping right through them. Or I was sitting on the toilet playing Wordle. Just willfully ignoring nature's miracles, as we all do every day. And when I was laughing, it actually became more meaningful because I was like, that's actually even more important is I'm noticing it. I'm having this epic day and I'm noticing the sun doing what it's doing. And I'm thanking it for coming up. And we don't stop and slow down and thank the sun. And that actually felt more meaningful. A few hours after that, we had our first visitors at the hospital. It was my mom and my dad. They showed up to meet their first grandchild. If you've ever been in a delivery room after a baby's born, you know there's not an expectation that you're going to entertain. You don't need to chit-chat. There's stretches of silence. Everybody's shell-shocked and exhausted. And there was a long while there where I found myself standing next to Cal's bassinet. I was just staring at him. He was a few hours old. He had the blanket and the hat, and I was just standing there. And after a bunch of minutes, I felt that my dad had walked up behind me. And I didn't turn around. I didn't need to. I know my father's energy. And he's the biggest guy in the room. And we all just stood there. And after a few more minutes, I snuck a glance back and I caught him. My father wasn't expecting me to turn around, and I caught him. You see, I figured he would also be staring at Cal, but he wasn't. He was staring at me. And I had two thoughts in that moment, and I've never forgotten them. The first, I was like, man, it feels so similar to how I was feeling about the sun before. My dad, he's a lot like the sun. Consistent, reliable, he shows up. And it's easy for me to think back to my childhood and wonder why there were some stormy days along the way, or days where that heat just came on a little too hot, but they stand out because those are the outliers. If I asked my father what's the job definition on being a dad, he's not really a man of words. I don't know if he'd be able to explain it, but when I think about it, I sort of feel like being a dad, you gotta be like the sun. You wake up before everybody else, you get to work, you're providing things for your family as basic as heat and light, and if you do it right, you operate in the background and nobody even really notices. We do not thank the sun for coming up, and I don't think we need to thank a father for trying to be a good dad. The reward you get is a kid who's happy and healthy and doesn't even put you on the list of things he loves. You get a kid who loves Killian more than you. And that's a reward that's worth fighting for. The other thought I had, should have said it. It was my chance. I'm still kicking myself that I didn't. But I was looking at my dad and I'm thinking to myself, is this why you can't say it? Because the first thing Cal ever taught me was that I love you does not even come close to this thing. I knew that within a few hours. I love you. You want to talk about disposable phrases in the English language? Let's put I love you at the top of that list. We've blown that one out. We overused that. That's in every bad movie. I've read it in comic books. It's in Blink-182 songs. I love you. Disposable phrase, right? This is not an I love you. And my dad only really says things when he means them. And if that's why you can't say it to me, because that's not really what this is, then I get it. And all is forgiven, and thank you for teaching me that. But I do think those three words are really important. And I think people need to hear them. And maybe there's somebody in here tonight who doesn't hear them as often as you should. And you took time out of your weekend to come hang out with me. You spent some of your money, your time, you got a babysitter, you're here tonight. That means the world to me. I'm humbled by that and flattered, and it's an honor to let you know that if no one else is saying it to you, I'll stand right here on this stage and let you know that I don't even say that to my dad. I'm not just gonna toss it around all willy-nilly, some block full of abandoned factories in St. Louis. That would be a complete betrayal of the impact of those words and everything I've just laid out about them. But what I will tell you, everybody, is that there's a lot of Sesame Street for free on YouTube right now. And Elmo loves you, everybody. So go check it out. He really does. I have to thank you all so much for coming. Thanks for supporting my career over the past 2 decades. Please get home safe. Enjoy the rest of your night. And thank you so much. Have a great one. One more time for Emma. One more time for Nick. One more time for yourself.